Dan Tehan, thank you for your time. What is going on here? We were promised fewer immigrants, half the number. We instead get a new record, just unbelievably big numbers last month.
It is. For the latest ABS data shows for the month of February, permanent and semi-permanent arrivals hit 100,000 for the month of February. Now, we've never had that occur in our history. And what we're seeing under this Labor government is numbers coming into this country, the like of which we have never seen. As a matter of fact, we think the Labor Party are on target for their first term of government to bring in well over 1 million people. Now, that's when we have a housing crisis, a rental crisis, our hospitals are not being able to deal with the pressures they're under. Congestion is obviously getting worse and worse, and Labor just seems completely both hopeless and hapless when it comes to immigration.
But Dan, if you ask Australians, do you want 1 million people in 3 years to arrive here, or whatever the figure's going to be, people would say, are you crazy? Australians don't like mass immigration, not at these numbers. What do you think our intake should be?
Well, just to go to the first point, Andrew, you're absolutely right. There was nothing that was said by the Albanese Labor government before the last election that they would bring over 1 million people in their first term of government. They said nothing of the like, yet that's what they've gone and do. And everyone that I speak to says to me that when you've got a housing and a rental crisis, the pressures on services, especially on our hospitals, on congestion, that this is the last thing we need at the moment. Now, we'll be announcing our policy in the coming months. We've obviously got a very strong sense now as to what Labor's up to with their Big Australia approach to immigration. We don't think a Big Australia approach is the right way to go, and we will be very upfront now. I've got to take my policies to my colleagues in the shadow cabinet, but we will announce a policy in the coming months. But I can guarantee your listeners that we will be not pursuing the Big Australia approach that the Albanese Labor government is. We believe in lower immigration, not Labor's Big Australia approach.
What's driving, or you're not going to give me a number here, but what's driving your approach to ditching the Big Australia thing, which in fact was embraced by the Liberals for quite a while, I thought, mistakenly? Is it lack of cohesion, lack of housing? Is it, needing to unchoke our cities? What is it?
Well, it's really all of the above. We've got to make sure, in particular, that we can house people that we bring into this nation. So we've got to make sure that it's coordinated with housing. We've got to make sure that it's coordinated with what's happening with rents. We've got to make sure it's coordinated with what's happening, especially to young Australians being able to get access to the employment market. We've seen youth unemployment start to tick up for the first time, and there's some correlation with the amount of international students coming in. We've got to make sure that our health system can cope with the numbers coming in. We've got to make sure that congestion in our cities, I mean, we've seen this Albanese Labor government cut funding for infrastructure in our cities. At the same time, they're bringing in these record numbers. So we've got to calibrate all of that, and we've got to make sure that that social licence is there. And that means ensuring that we do have that social harmony that we've always treasured so much here in Australia. So all those things we have to take into account, and they'll be all considerations that we'll be making sure that we're taking account of when we put our policy in place.